I didn't even get to sit down before my own daughter blew up the room. You are not getting a dime from me, not one damn cent. Rebecca's voice sliced through the living room like broken glass, cold, sharp, mean in a way that made my stomach twist. We'd just come back from Victor's funeral. My husband, her father, my partner of 40 decades, the man we buried less than half a day ago. And somehow, in less than 12 hours, my daughter turned into someone I barely recognized. She stood there in her black designer dress, mascara flawless, eyes blazing with something ugly. Not grief, not sadness, hunger. $300 million, she said, waving the will in my face like a winning lottery ticket. That's mine now. The house, the accounts, everything. You're done. My legs felt weak, but I stayed standing. I'd spent 40 years building that home with Victor. 40 years of scraped knees, late nights, family dinners, and memories soaked into the walls. Rebecca didn't care. "We just buried your father," I whispered, my voice cracking. My makeup had smeared from crying, and I didn't even bother fixing it. "This isn't the time." She laughed, actually laughed. "You want to talk about cruel, Mom? Cruel is you living off Dad's money your whole life like some kind of leech. Those days are over. This house is mine, the money is mine, and you're getting out." In the corner, attorney Richard Collins cleared his throat. He'd been standing there quietly since the will reading, hands folded, eyes observant. Victor trusted him more than anyone. "There's more to the document," Richard said carefully. "I strongly suggest reading the entire will." Rebecca shot him a glare. "Don't start with me, Richard. You already did your job." A flicker of something crossed her face, unease, gone in a second. She turned back to me. "You've got 24 hours. Pack your stuff. Don't call me. Don't come back. You're not my problem anymore." Then she shoved me. Not hard enough to knock me down, but hard enough to make the message clear. The door slammed behind me, echoing through the house like a gunshot. I stood outside in the light rain, staring at the place where I'd spent most of my life. The windows glowed warm behind the curtains, a home that suddenly wasn't mine anymore. I walked toward the driveway, my black dress soaking through, grief mixing with humiliation. My hands weren't shaking from fear, they were shaking from rage. "Melissa, wait!" Richard came running, holding a thick folder against his chest. "There's something you need to know," he said, his voice low but firm. "Something your husband planned just in case today went exactly like this." I looked back at the house. For a brief moment, I saw Rebecca peeking through the curtain, her face tense, her confidence cracking. Victor had always been 10 steps ahead, and suddenly I knew this story wasn't over, not even close. That night, as Richard drove me away from the house I lost, he said 7 words that changed
for a solid
everything.
5 minutes.
Your husband
My
didn't
chest
leave
felt
the
hollow,
house.
like someone scooped out everything familiar and left nothing but echoes behind. Finally, I broke the silence. "Just say it," I muttered. "Whatever Victor left behind, just say it." Richard glanced at me, then back at the road. "Your husband anticipated this exact scenario." That stopped me cold. "What do you mean, anticipated?" I asked. Richard pulled into a quiet side street and parked beneath a flickering streetlight. He turned off the engine and faced me fully now, his expression serious, almost respectful. 6 months before Victor passed, he said, he amended the will, quietly, legally, with witnesses, and a very specific condition. My heart started pounding. Condition? If Rebecca showed cruelty toward you, especially during the mourning period, the entire inheritance would automatically revert to you. I stared at him, my breath catching. All of it? All of it, he confirmed. The money, the house, the investments, every single asset. My mind struggled to keep up. Just an hour ago, I was standing in the rain with nowhere to go. Now I was hearing words that felt unreal. But she already threw me out, I said slowly. She humiliated me. Richard nodded, and every second of it was recorded. He pulled out his phone and tapped the screen. My own voice filled the car, shaky and pleading. Then Rebecca's, sharp, venomous, merciless. Every insult, every shove, every threat. I covered my mouth, tears spilling over, but this time they weren't only from pain. Victor, even gone, he was still protecting me. There's more, Richard said gently. Victor didn't want immediate revenge. He wanted truth. Truth? I whispered. He wanted Rebecca to believe she won, to let power expose who she really is. Only then would you decide, take everything back or give her a final chance. I leaned back in the seat, stunned. So I have to pretend I lost? Yes, for now. A bitter laugh escaped me. My husband really planned all this. He loved you, and he loved his daughter enough to let her fall. We drove the rest of the way in silence to a small downtown hotel. Nothing fancy, just clean and quiet, a place I never imagined I'd end up after 40 years of marriage. Before leaving, Richard handed me a sealed envelope. He left this for you, he said. You were supposed to open it only after Rebecca revealed her true nature. My fingers trembled as I took it. Victor's handwriting stared back at me from the front. Alone in the room, I sat on the edge of the bed and slowly opened the letter. My dearest Melissa, if you're reading this, it means my greatest fear came true, and so did my plan. The words blurred as tears fell. Victor wrote about seeing the greed grow in Rebecca over the years, about the moments I brushed off as stress or entitlement, about how he knew one day she would choose money over family. I couldn't tell you while I was alive, he wrote, because I needed your pain to be real. She had to believe she won. My chest tightened. Then came the line that made my hands shake. The $300 million is not the full inheritance. I froze. Victor had hidden additional accounts, properties, and investments, all under my maiden name, assets Rebecca didn't even know existed. By the time I finished the letter, my grief had mixed with something new: resolve. Victor hadn't just left me money, he left me a choice. As I folded Victor's letter, one terrifying question echoed in my mind. What if the daughter I raised doesn't deserve a second chance? That first night in the hotel, sleep didn't come easy. The room was quiet in that uncomfortable way, too quiet. No hum of Victor's breathing beside me, no familiar creak of the house settling. Just the low buzz of traffic outside and my thoughts running wild. I kept replaying Rebecca's face when she shoved me out, the cold confidence, the way she didn't hesitate, like I was already erased. By morning, I made a decision. If Victor wanted me to observe, then that's exactly what I'd do, from the shadows. Richard arranged everything: a private investigator, financial alerts, security access. I hated the idea of spying on my own daughter, but Victor had been right about one thing. Power doesn't hide who you are. It exposes you. 3 days after she kicked me out, Rebecca fired the entire household staff, every single one. Claudia, our cook of 15 years, called Richard sobbing. She kept asking if she'd done something wrong. Her last interaction with Rebecca was being told, "I don't need poor people hanging around my new life." That sentence felt like a punch to the chest. A week later, Richard showed me photos. Rebecca stepping out of luxury stores, arms loaded with designer bags. One afternoon, $150,000 gone. She smiled in every photo, wide, careless, drunk on attention. The worst one wasn't the money. It was the people around her. Strangers, fake friends, men and women who never showed up to Victor's birthday dinners or our holiday gatherings. People who suddenly loved her now that she was rich. Then came the social club incident. The same club Victor and I had supported for decades, the same one that hosted annual charity events in his name. Rebecca marched in like she owned the place and demanded my name be removed from the membership list. "My mother has nothing to do with me anymore," she said, loud enough for everyone to hear. When Richard told me, I broke down, not because of a membership, because my daughter was rewriting history, cutting me out like I never mattered. It didn't stop there. She insulted Victor's old friends, fired the gardener again when he came by just to pay respects, started selling properties without advice, talking about liquid cash and fast growth. Richard's voice was tight when he updated me. She's surrounding herself with risky investors, people who promise big returns fast. I knew where that road ended. Victor used to say, "Scammers don't hunt money, they hunt ego." 3 weeks in, Richard called early one morning. "Melissa," he said, serious, "you need to see this." He showed me footage from the club's charity event, Victor's final fundraiser. Rebecca took the stage and canceled the entire program. "My father is gone," she announced, "and with him, all that outdated charity nonsense." Gasps filled the room. Someone confronted her afterward, one of Victor's oldest friends. Rebecca's response made my stomach turn. "My dad was sentimental. I'm smarter. Money is for enjoying, not wasting on losers." Richard paused the video and looked at me. This is the moment Victor prepared for. Legally, emotionally, everything. I closed my eyes. I could take everything back right now, but Victor didn't raise me to act out of anger. "No," I said finally. Richard frowned. "Melissa," I continued, "she needs to feel the consequences, not just fear them." That same week, the universe stepped in. Rebecca's new partners vanished. $50 million gone. No calls, no accounts, no trace. That night, my phone rang. It was Rebecca. Her voice sounded small, broken. "Mom, I need to talk to you." For the first time since the funeral, she sounded like my daughter again. As I stared at the phone in my trembling hand, one truth hit me hard. Rock bottom doesn't warn you before it arrives. I didn't rush back to the house right away. I sat in the hotel room for nearly 20 minutes after Rebecca's call, staring at the wall like it might give me answers. My heart wanted to run to her, to hold her, to tell her everything would be okay, but Victor's voice echoed in my head. "Don't save her too soon." When I finally arrived, Rebecca opened the door instantly, like she'd been standing there the whole time, waiting. She looked nothing like the woman who shoved me out weeks earlier. Her hair was a mess, makeup smeared. The blue dress she wore looked slept in. "Come in," she whispered. The house felt wrong. The warmth was gone. Our old furniture had been replaced with cold, modern pieces that looked expensive but soulless. Family photos were missing, replaced with abstract art I didn't recognize. Even the air smelled different, like money and emptiness. She collapsed onto the couch, burying her face in her hands. "I messed up, Mom," she said, her voice cracking. "I trusted the wrong people." I sat across from her, calm on the outside, breaking on the inside. "Tell me what happened," she sobbed. $50 million. Gone. Just gone. I didn't react, not with anger, not with comfort. Instead, I asked the question Victor told me to ask. "What do you plan to do now?" She looked up, confused. "I don't know. Richard won't help me. The bank froze some accounts. Everyone I thought was my friend disappeared." That part didn't surprise me. "Then why did you call me?" I asked gently. Her shoulders shook. "Because I realized I have no one left." That hurt more than the money. "I treated people horribly," she continued. "Claudia, Mr. Celestino, you." She looked at me, shame finally settling in. "I kicked you out right after Dad's funeral." For the first time, she didn't defend herself. She owned it. A few days later, Richard called again. "The bank has frozen the rest of her accessible funds for investigation, 2 months minimum." That was the next test. Without credit cards, without endless cash, without backup, Rebecca had to face reality. Bills piled up fast, utilities, insurance, maintenance costs she'd never even thought about. One morning, she stared at the paperwork spread across the kitchen table. "How does anyone survive like this?" she asked quietly. "These monthly expenses are insane." I looked at her. Most people survive on a fraction of this. That silence hit her harder than any lecture. Soon, job applications followed. At first, she aimed high, management roles, executive positions. She came home frustrated every time. "They said I don't have experience. How is that fair?" I kept my voice steady. "Maybe start somewhere smaller." She hated that idea. But when another unpaid bill arrived, pride took a back seat. 3 weeks later, she landed a part-time job at a small clothing store. Her first day destroyed her. "My feet hurt. My manager's younger than me. Customers talk to me like I'm invisible," she groaned. "And?" I asked. "I'm exhausted." That's when it started to change. Slowly, painfully, real life was teaching her what money never did. But just when I thought the lesson was sinking in, fate lined up a test that could undo everything or finally save her. By the second week at the store, something strange started happening. Rebecca stopped complaining as much. Don't get me wrong, she still hated the job, the early shifts, the rude customers, the tiny paycheck that barely covered gas. But her tone changed, less rage, more confusion, like her old world view was cracking and she didn't yet know what to replace it with. One night, she came home and dropped her purse on the table. "There's this woman I work with," she said casually. "Her name's Danielle." I looked up. "Tell me about her." "She works mornings," Rebecca continued, "has 3 kids, takes care of her sick mom, works 2 jobs, and still shows up smiling every day. Never late, never complains." Rebecca paused, clearly unsettled. "I don't get it," she admitted. "How can someone with so little be so strong?"
That question mattered more than anything she'd said in years. "Did you talk to her?" I asked. She nodded. "Yeah, she's been working retail for 12 years, started after her divorce, said life doesn't wait for you to feel ready." Rebecca laughed softly, but there was no humor in it. "I lost $50 million and thought my life was over. She's never even seen 10,000 at once." That night, Rebecca didn't scroll on her phone or watch TV. She just sat there, thinking. A week later, she rushed in after work, eyes wide. "Mom, something bad happened today." Danielle's youngest son had been in an accident, emergency surgery, $10,000 needed fast, and insurance wouldn't cover all of it. "She broke down right in the stockroom," she said quietly. "I've never seen someone so scared." I didn't say anything. I didn't guide her. I waited. The next morning, Rebecca pulled out a velvet box from her drawer, a diamond bracelet she bought weeks earlier without even blinking. She went to a private jeweler, sold it. Every dollar went to Danielle. When she came home, she looked lighter, different. I didn't even miss it. The bracelet, I mean. That was the moment I knew Victor's plan was working. But life wasn't done testing her. That same week, a letter arrived from a law firm. Rebecca opened it, hands shaking. Her distant uncle Tobias, someone she barely remembered, had passed away. He left her $75 million. Her face went pale. "After everything, this happens?" she whispered. She didn't know the full truth. She didn't know that under an old family agreement, I had veto power over that inheritance, that the final decision rested with me and with whether I believed she truly changed. I said nothing. I watched. That night, instead of celebrating, Rebecca sat at the kitchen table with a notebook. She wrote names, pages of them. Claudia, Mr. Celestino, the charities she shut down, the people she humiliated. Next to each name, she wrote a plan. "I don't know if I deserve that money," she said quietly, "but if I get it, I want to fix what I broke." She looked at me, eyes glossy. "Do you think Dad would forgive me?" I squeezed her hand. "Your father always believed in the person you could be." The phone rang. It was Richard. "Melissa," he said, "tomorrow morning, you, me, and Rebecca, there's something you both need to know." I stared at my daughter. Tomorrow would decide everything, because the next morning, Rebecca was about to learn the truth her father buried inside his will, and it could change her forever. Rebecca barely slept that night. Neither did I. By morning, the kitchen felt tense, like the air itself was holding its breath. Rebecca kept staring at the law firm letter like it might disappear if she looked away long enough. $75 million, she muttered. "I don't even know how to feel about it." That alone told me how far she'd come. At 9 sharp, Richard picked us up. The ride to his office was quiet, broken only by the sound of traffic and Rebecca nervously tapping her foot. When we arrived, Richard didn't waste time. He placed a thick folder on the table, much thicker than the one Rebecca had seen before. "This," he said calmly, "is the full version of your father's estate plan." Rebecca frowned. "I already saw the will." Richard shook his head. "You saw what your father wanted you to see first." My daughter's face drained of color. "What does that mean?" she asked. I took a deep breath. "It means your father knew exactly how you would react when you thought you had everything." Richard opened the folder.
He explained the clause, the one that transferred control back to me if Rebecca acted cruelly during the mourning period. The hidden accounts, the safeguards, the long game Victor had planned. Rebecca's hands started shaking. So when I kicked Mom out, I lost it all? Yes, Richard said gently. Tears streamed down her face, not dramatic, not loud, just raw. My dad thought I'd turn into a monster, she said. No, I corrected softly. He thought you were lost, but still savable. Richard continued. The $50 million you lost, that was set aside intentionally. Your father wanted you to manage it alone, to learn. Rebecca laughed bitterly through tears. So I failed the test? You passed the part that mattered. You changed. She looked at me. Why didn't you stop me sooner? Because saving you too early would have ruined the lesson, I answered honestly. Silence filled the room. Then Rebecca straightened. What about Uncle Tobias's inheritance? Is that real? Richard nodded. It is, but final approval belongs to your mother. Rebecca swallowed. Then I won't ask for it. That shocked me. If you think I've changed enough, you'll know. If not, I'll live without it. That was the moment Victor hoped for. I slid another document across the table. I'm willing to split the estate, but under conditions. Rebecca didn't hesitate. Whatever they are. A joint trust, shared decisions, mandatory charitable work, and if you break the rules, you live on a fixed allowance. She nodded. I accept. We signed everything that afternoon. When we left the office, Rebecca stopped suddenly. Mom, she said softly, can we go see Mr. Celestino? I owe him an apology. My throat tightened. Victor would have been proud. But the story wasn't finished yet, because later that evening, another letter arrived, one Victor had hidden for years, and it held a secret neither of us expected. The envelope was marked in Victor's handwriting, open only when my daughter has learned the value of work. The envelope sat between us on the kitchen table like it had a heartbeat. Rebecca didn't touch it right away. She just stared at Victor's handwriting, tracing the letters with her eyes like she was afraid opening it might erase him all over again. Open it, I said gently. That's what he wanted. Her hands trembled as she tore the seal. Inside was a thick stack of letters, each one dated, labeled, and intentional. The first read, Open when Rebecca learns the value of work. She read out loud, her voice shaking. My dear daughter, if you're reading this, it means you've discovered something money could never teach you. Discipline, humility, and pride earned the hard way. Rebecca paused, swallowing hard. Victor wrote about watching her grow up surrounded by comfort and how he feared it had robbed her of resilience. He wrote about believing she was capable of more than entitlement, that strength was always there, just buried. Work doesn't make you small, he wrote. It makes you real. Tears fell freely now. The second letter was addressed to me. Melissa, my anchor, if you're holding this, it means you had the courage to let our daughter struggle, even when it broke your heart. I pressed my lips together, holding myself together by sheer will. Victor thanked me for being strong when he couldn't be, for trusting his plan, for loving Rebecca enough to let her fall. Then came the third letter. This one had no instructions, just one line written in bold ink. Open together.
Rebecca looked at me. I think this one's for now. Inside was Victor's final truth. He confessed that for years he had secretly donated millions to causes we believed were anonymous: scholarships, hospitals, shelters, single mothers, disaster relief. I didn't do it quietly because I was ashamed. I did it quietly because I wanted the right people, not the loudest ones, to continue the work. At the bottom of the letter was the number that made us both inhale sharply: $100 million, already given away, and systems in place to keep giving, but only if we chose to continue. Rebecca wiped her face. He trusted us with this. Yes, I said, and now it's our responsibility. The next weeks changed everything. We visited charities Victor had supported, met families whose lives had been saved by hospital equipment he funded, students who had graduated without ever knowing who paid their tuition. Rebecca cried more than once. I used to think money was proof of worth, she admitted one night. Now I see it's just a tool. Months later, we founded the Victor Adams Foundation. Rebecca became the executive director, not because of her name, but because she earned it. I took the board seat. We rebuilt trust brick by brick. She kept her retail job longer than she needed to, said it grounded her. I like earning my paycheck, she told me once. It reminds me I'm capable. 1 year after Victor's death, during our foundation's first major fundraiser, another envelope arrived. This one from a notary in New York. Inside, a final surprise Victor had never told anyone about, and it would change his legacy forever. As Rebecca unfolded the document, her hands went still, and she whispered, "Mom, this can't be real." Rebecca's hands froze mid-air as she read the document from the New York notary. The room went silent. I watched her face change, confusion first, then disbelief, then something close to awe. "Mom," she whispered, "Dad, he owned properties in 5 different states." I leaned closer. The paperwork wasn't just legal jargon, it was a roadmap. Deeds, trusts, offshore accounts, endowments, and something Victor had titled continuation assets. "What does that mean?" Rebecca asked. "It means," I said slowly, "your father planned for this legacy to outlive us." Victor hadn't just donated money, he had built self-sustaining systems, apartment complexes whose rent funded scholarships, farms whose profits supplied food banks, and investment portfolios designed to grow and give simultaneously. The total value? $650 million. Rebecca sat back hard in her chair. "All this time, I thought wealth meant what you could spend." "And your father knew it meant what you could leave behind," I replied. The notary's letter explained everything. Victor never wanted the fortune to be a trophy. He wanted it to be a responsibility, one that only activated if Rebecca proved she could handle power without losing her soul. Rebecca rubbed her temples. "I almost destroyed everything." "But you didn't," I said. "That matters." Over the next few weeks, reality hit fast. Rebecca traveled with me to places Victor had quietly helped, a rural clinic where newborn incubators bore plaques with no names, a scholarship office where a counselor said, "Your husband saved entire generations." At one stop, a young woman hugged Rebecca and said, "Because of whoever paid my tuition, I'm the first doctor in my family." Rebecca cried the entire drive back. "I spent years chasing attention," she said. "Dad changed lives without anyone knowing." That realization broke something old inside her and built something new.
But growth isn't clean. At the foundation office one afternoon, Rebecca overheard two board members arguing about expansion costs. Old instincts flared. She snapped, raised her voice, tried to pull rank. The room went quiet. Rebecca caught herself. She stopped mid-sentence. "I'm sorry," she said, visibly forcing the words out. "That wasn't okay. Let's reset." Afterwards, she sat alone, shaken. "I almost went back to who I was," I told her later. Growth doesn't mean you never mess up. It means you recognize it faster. Still, Victor had one final test left. Richard called that evening. "Melissa," he said, "there's an activation clause tied to the continuation assets." My stomach tightened. "Go on." He said, "For the next phase to unlock, Rebecca must publicly choose purpose over profit without knowing the reward." Rebecca agreed immediately. At the next major investor meeting, she stood at the podium and made a decision that stunned everyone. She redirected a massive commercial development into affordable housing and education funding, cutting projected profits in half. The room erupted in objections. Rebecca didn't back down. "This foundation isn't here to make us richer," she said calmly. "It's here to make us useful." That night, the final clause activated. Richard called it midnight. Victor's last condition has been fulfilled. Rebecca stared at the phone in silence. "What happens now?" she asked. I looked at her, the woman she had become, not the girl she used to be. "Now," I said, "you find out just how far your father trusted you." The next morning, a secure vault opened in Victor's name, and what it revealed would change Rebecca's role forever.
The vault wasn't in a bank. That surprised me. Richard drove us 2 hours north to a quiet industrial park that looked boring enough to be invisible. No sign, no logo, just a low concrete building with armed security and biometric scanners. Rebecca swallowed hard. Dad really didn't mess around. "No," Richard said. He didn't. Inside, the air smelled like metal and paperwork. We passed through 3 checkpoints before reaching a steel door the size of a small car. Richard entered a code, scanned his hand, and stepped back. "Melissa," he said, "you're the primary key holder." My heart pounded as I placed my hand on the scanner. The door hissed open. Inside wasn't gold bars or stacks of cash like in the movies. It was information. Rows of secure cabinets, hard drives, legal binders, trust documents, endowment agreements, succession plans stretching decades into the future. Rebecca walked in slowly, eyes wide. "This is insane." "This," Richard corrected, "is a legacy." At the center of the room sat a single black box. On top of it was a note in Victor's handwriting. "Only open when my daughter understands that money is not the reward." Rebecca looked at me. I think this is it." She opened the box. Inside was one final letter and a flash drive. She read aloud, "Rebecca, if you're here, you've already survived the hardest part, facing yourself." Victor explained that this vault controlled the final authority over the foundation. Whoever held it didn't just manage money, they shaped lives. But there was a catch. Rebecca could take full control immediately, or she could lock herself out for 5 years, allowing independent oversight, audits, and limits on her authority. "This is a test," she whispered. "Yes," I said, "the last one." Rebecca didn't hesitate.
I choose the lockout. Richard raised his eyebrows. You're sure? She nodded. If I ever forget who this is for, I don't deserve control. She signed the document. The system beeped. Authority transferred, but with guardrails. Victor had won. That night, back home, Rebecca sat quietly on the porch. Mom, do you ever wonder who I'd be if Dad hadn't done this? All the time, I admitted. She exhaled. I'm glad he didn't give up on me. Neither was I. But life doesn't pause for growth. 2 days later, a journalist published an expose accusing the foundation of hoarding wealth under the mask of charity. Headlines exploded. Donors panicked. Social media turned vicious. Rebecca stared at the screen, shaken. They're calling us frauds. Victor's voice was urgent on the phone. This could destroy everything Victor built. Rebecca looked at me, fear flickering in her eyes. For the first time, she didn't ask what she should do. She asked something else. Mom, can we survive this? Because the storm that followed would test Rebecca not as an heiress, but as a leader under fire. The internet didn't whisper. It screamed. By morning, Rebecca's name was everywhere, twisted into headlines that painted her as a spoiled billionaire playing pretend with charity money. Comment sections were brutal. People who'd never met her decided who she was in a single sentence. Fake philanthropy, another rich girl laundering guilt. Where's the proof? Rebecca stared at her laptop like it was a loaded weapon. I thought doing the right thing would be enough, she said quietly. That's the lie, I replied. Doing the right thing is usually when it gets hardest. Richard called an emergency meeting. Board members argued. Some wanted to go silent. Others pushed for lawsuits. A few even suggested stepping down until the noise dies. Rebecca listened. Then she stood up. No, she said, voice steady. We don't hide. The room froze. She laid it all out. Audits, numbers, outcomes, mistakes included. We open everything, she continued. Every dollar, every project, every failure. One board member scoffed. That could ruin us. Rebecca met his stare. So could fear. They voted. Transparency won by 1 vote. The next 48 hours were chaos. Records were published, independent auditors invited in. Rebecca did interviews, real ones, not scripted fluff. She admitted her past openly, owned her mistakes without excuses. I wasn't always a good person, she said on camera, but I'm trying to be useful now. Something shifted. Not overnight, but enough. A journalist visited one of the clinics Victor funded. Another interviewed scholarship students. Stories began to crack the narrative. Then the expose writer was exposed. His article was funded by developers who lost money when Rebecca redirected the commercial project into affordable housing. The backlash flipped. But victory came with a cost. The pressure broke Rebecca that night. She collapsed onto the couch, shaking. I don't know if I'm strong enough for this, she admitted. Dad made it look easy. I held her hand. He didn't make it look easy. He just didn't quit. The next morning, Rebecca returned to work anyway. That's when another call came, this one unexpected. It was from the families of the fired staff. Claudia, Mr. Celestino, others Rebecca had hurt. They weren't calling for money. They wanted to meet her. Rebecca froze. Why? Because, Richard said softly, they've been watching you. The meeting was set for that weekend. Rebecca barely slept again, not from fear of losing money, but from fear of facing the people she once crushed. Because forgiveness is harder to face than judgment. and Rebecca was about to find out why.
Rebecca didn't dress fancy for the meeting. No designer labels, no power suit, just a simple sweater and jeans. She stood in front of the mirror, tugging at the sleeves like she used to when she was nervous as a kid. "I don't deserve their forgiveness," she said. "No," I answered honestly, "but you do owe them the truth." The meeting was held in a small community center. Folding chairs, coffee and styrofoam cups, no cameras, no press, just people. Claudia was the first to arrive. She looked older than I remembered, tired but still dignified. When she saw Rebecca, her posture stiffened. Mr. Celestino came next, his hands rough, eyes guarded. Others followed, faces that once filled our home with warmth, now carrying distance. Rebecca stood. "I won't take much of your time," she began, voice shaking. "I didn't invite you here to ask for anything." She took a breath. "I treated you all horribly. I abused power I didn't earn. I humiliated people who gave our family loyalty for years. No excuses, no but. I'm sorry. Not the polite kind, the kind that admits I was wrong." Silence stretched. Then Claudia spoke. "You didn't just fire us," she said calmly. "You made us feel disposable." Rebecca nodded, tears spilling. "I know, and I can't undo that." Mr. Celestino crossed his arms. "Why now?" Rebecca met his eyes. "Because I finally understand what it's like to feel small." That honesty cracked something. One by one, people spoke, not yelling, not begging, just truth. Lost jobs, sleepless nights, kids who asked why their parents were crying. Rebecca listened, didn't interrupt, didn't defend herself. When it was over, she stood again. "I won't ask you to trust me, but I will show you if you let me." She offered jobs back, not as favors, but with contracts, benefits, and respect, training programs, ownership shares, long-term security. Mr. Celestino stared at the paperwork. "You're serious?" he said. "Yes," Rebecca replied, "and if you say no, I'll respect that." Claudia wiped her eyes. "People don't change overnight." "I know. I'm not asking for overnight." After the meeting, Rebecca sat in the parking lot shaking. "That was harder than losing money," she admitted. "It was supposed to be," I said. That evening, Victor's final scheduled letter unlocked automatically. Rebecca read it silently, then handed it to me. It was short. "Forgiveness is not the end of the journey. It is the beginning of accountability." Rebecca looked up. "I'm ready," she said. I believed her, but the biggest test still hadn't arrived, because the next decision would determine whether Rebecca was truly changed or just temporarily humbled. The call came on a Tuesday morning. Not dramatic, not loud. Just one phone vibrating on the kitchen counter while Rebecca was pouring coffee like it was any other day. She glanced at the screen and frowned. Unknown number. I had a bad feeling before she even answered. "Rebecca Adams speaking." Her posture changed instantly. "Yes, I understand. That's a large number." She sank into the chair slowly. When she hung up, the room felt heavier. "Well?" I asked. She exhaled. "A private investment group, international. They want to partner with a foundation." "That doesn't sound bad," I said cautiously. "They're offering guaranteed returns," she continued, massive ones, enough to double the endowment in 3 years. I stayed quiet. "There's just one catch," she added. Of course there was. "They want control over project locations, high growth zones only, no low return community programs, no rural clinics, no scholarships unless there's brand visibility. In other words, profit first, people second." Rebecca rubbed her temples. This is the kind of deal old me would have signed without blinking. "And now?" I asked. She didn't answer right away. Richard joined us that afternoon. He laid out the legal side. Safe deal, clean contracts, zero risk financially. "But morally?" I asked. Richard leaned back. "That depends on who Rebecca wants to be." The investors requested a final answer within 48 hours. That night, Rebecca couldn't sleep. I found her in the foundation office, surrounded by reports, photos, handwritten thank you letters from families Victor had helped. "If I say yes," she said quietly, "we help more people faster. And if you say no," I asked, "we stay slower, smaller, harder." She looked up at me. "What if I'm letting pride get in the way of progress?" I shook my head. "Or what if you're protecting the soul of what your father built?" The next day, Rebecca visited the mall, not to shop, to talk. She met Danielle, the coworker whose son she once helped, then Claudia, then Mr. Celestino. She didn't mention the deal. She just listened. That night, Rebecca sat at the table and wrote one sentence on a piece of paper. "Who pays the price if I'm wrong?" The answer was clear. The following morning, the investors called. Rebecca didn't stall. "Thank you for the offer," she said calmly, "but we're not for sale." There was silence on the other end. "You're turning down hundreds of millions," the voice said. "Yes," she replied, "because we're not here to grow rich. We're here to grow impact." She hung up. Her hands shook, but she smiled. Richard nodded slowly. Victor would have approved. So did I. But saying no to easy money comes with consequences, because within hours, another call came in. This one far more dangerous. The voice on the line said 6 words that made my blood run cold. "You should have taken the deal." The threat didn't come with shouting. That's what made it worse. "You should have taken the deal." The line went dead before Rebecca could respond. We stared at each other in silence. "Probably just intimidation," Richard said later that evening, though his jaw was tight. "But we don't ignore it." Within 48 hours, pressure came from every angle. Donations stalled. Partner organizations suddenly paused collaborations. A zoning permit for one of the affordable housing projects was delayed without explanation. Coincidence? Not a chance. "They're trying to bleed us," Rebecca said, pacing the office, slowly. I watched her closely, not the old Rebecca who would have panicked or lashed out, but the woman who'd learned patience the hard way. "What's our move?" she asked. "We document everything," Richard replied, "and we stay clean." Then came the hit piece. Another article dropped. Anonymous sources, misleading numbers, half-truths stitched together just convincingly enough to confuse the public. Rebecca read it once, then closed her laptop. "No response," she said. Richard blinked. "Excuse me?" "We don't fight noise with noise," she continued. "We fight it with consistency." So that's what she did. She showed up every day.
visited sites, met families, opened books, released weekly transparency reports no one asked for, but everyone could see. Weeks passed. The pressure didn't break her. It broke the lie. A whistleblower came forward, an assistant from the investment group, emails leaked, recorded calls, proof of retaliation when Rebecca refused the deal. The story flipped overnight. Headlines changed. Foundation targeted after rejecting profit-first deal. Integrity costs millions, but saves millions more. Rebecca didn't celebrate. She sat quietly, exhausted. "I don't want to win like this," she said. I replied, "You didn't, you survived." That's when the final envelope arrived. No law firm, no notary, just Victor's handwriting. For when the storm has passed. Rebecca opened it slowly. "My daughter, if you're reading this, you chose character over comfort. That was the only outcome that mattered." Victor revealed the last safeguard, an independent international trust that activated only if the foundation proved immune to corruption under pressure. The amount? Enough to replace every dollar they tried to starve us of. Rebecca laughed through tears. "He knew," she whispered. "He always knew." Richard nodded. And now there's nothing left to unlock. The next morning, Rebecca stood at the foundation entrance before sunrise. "I think I'm ready," she said. "Ready for what?" I asked. "To stop proving myself and start leading." I smiled because I knew this wasn't the end of Victor's plan. It was the beginning of Rebecca's legacy. But before everything settled, Rebecca had one final decision to make, one that would define how this story truly ends. The morning felt different. Not dramatic, not heavy, just calm. Rebecca stood in front of the foundation building, watching volunteers arrive, people laughing, arguing about coffee, carrying boxes, like the work mattered. Because it did. She turned to me. "Mom, I need to make one last decision." "I know." Inside the conference room, Richard waited with a single document. No pressure, no deadlines, just a choice. Rebecca could step fully into power now, full authority, no lockouts, no guardrails. Victor's final safeguards had been cleared. The fortune, the trust, the legacy, everything was hers to lead. But that wasn't the decision. She slid the paper back toward Richard. "I don't want to be the face of this," she said calmly. Richard blinked. "Rebecca, you've earned—" "I don't want the spotlight," she continued. "I want the work." She proposed something radical. A rotating leadership council, term limits, independent community voices with real voting power, transparency baked into the structure so no one person, including her, could ever hijack the mission. "This foundation shouldn't survive because of my last name," she said. "It should survive because it does good." Richard leaned back slowly. "Your father would have called this evolution." Rebecca smiled softly. "He already gave us enough control. Now it's time to let go." By afternoon, the decision was official. Rebecca stayed on, not as queen, not as heir, but as executive director with limits, oversight, and accountability, just another name on the org chart. When the press found out, they didn't know how to frame it. Heiress rejects absolute power. Billionaire chooses accountability over control. Rebecca didn't read the headlines. She was too busy on a video call with a rural clinic arguing about supply chains and staffing like it was the most important thing in the world, because to her, it was. That night, we sat on the porch like we used to when she was a teenager,
No security, no chaos, just quiet. Mom, do you think Dad knew this would be the ending? I shook my head. I think he knew this would be a beginning. She smiled. I used to think money made people powerful. And now, I asked, now I know power is choosing not to use it. A week later, at the Foundation's annual gathering, Rebecca stood on stage, not to accept praise, but to redirect it. This isn't my story, she told the room. It's a reminder that people can change when they're held accountable and loved enough not to be rescued too soon. The crowd stood, not because she was rich, but because she was real. That night, as I locked up the office, I found one last note tucked into Victor's old planner. I'd never seen it before. If Rebecca ever becomes someone who doesn't need the money to feel worthy, then everything worked. I folded it carefully. Victor was right. I didn't lose my daughter. I found her. So let me ask you this. Do you think people truly change only when they lose everything, or when someone loves them enough to let them fall? Tell us in the comments. And if this story moved you, stay with us, because the next one might just change how you see the world too.